My name is Granger COF, and I'm here to discuss the music streaming industry. The youth of the next generation will not know what that weird slot on the side of our laptops are, or what it meant to burn a CD and give it to a friend for them to listen to. Somehow that might work. To them, they don't understand any of that. And this is a problem. I'm going to address that my major claim is that music streaming services have a significant negative impact on the music industry. My first claim being music streaming services are harming the artists based on these sites. Music streaming services have a negative effect on record stores and the availability of music through a physical medium. And music streaming services negatively affect the production of physical music. So, in terms of music production, the process of music production goes, the artist, it goes to the label, and then to production, then to distribution, the retailer, and then that the consumer receives the music. With Spotify, for example, there's a royalty formula. The artist does not directly receive funds for listening to an entire album, for instance. It goes Spotify's monthly revenue multiplied by the artist's Spotify streams divided by the total Spotify listens, multiplied by 70% to people who mastered the album and the publishing owners, and then the artist's royalty rates. Artists are receiving pennies on the dollar per listen to a song that would be $1.50, where they're receiving half of a cent compared to what they could be earning. From Newsweek magazine, this quote says, "Technology is making sure that from now on we get a boatload of Adeles, but never again the likes of David Bowie." The music streaming service is designed to make people want to listen to similar forms of music, one after another, rather than have variation or a change. Whereas David Bowie was very experimental and different, Adele is very conservative and appeals to a large spectrum of people. Thus, it would prompt people to listen to a genre like that more often. Aloe Blacc, the popular R&B singer-songwriter, states that the apparently low rates songwriters are paid by streaming services, enabled by dreadfully outdated federal regulations, are yet another indication our work is being devalued in today's marketplace. The difference between clicking your mouse to listen to an album and going to a record store, for instance, and purchasing it physically and performing the operation to play that record is a much more menial and simple task than is required for the art that's being produced. My second claim is that music streaming services are having a negative effect on record stores and the availability of music as a physical medium. Record stores are a thing of discovery and adventure. You go into a record store, you're not exactly sure what you're going to buy. You have maybe an idea, there's such a wide selection. Perhaps the most successful record store empire was Tower Records, which was founded in 1968 in San Francisco. Records could be found plenty in metropolitan areas, like record stores could be found plenty in metropolitan areas. You could take a walk and you would find record stores littered throughout the downtown area. Nowadays, one or two at most in a certain city can hold a record store, and the availability to get certain music requires an internet connection, a computer, a sound system. It's harder to obtain this information and this music than it was 10 years ago. My third secondary claim is the music streaming services negatively affect the production of physical music. The first album to ever be released on CD was the Sultans of Swing's fifth album, Brothers in Arms. The album was the symbolic milestone that marked the true beginning of the CD era, says The Guardian. The iPod and Napster were some of the largest revolutions in the music world. Before that, CDs reigned over everything. There was vinyl, there was also cassettes, but iPods and Napster changed the way we listen to music. So we went from CDs and vinyl to MP3s that you can click and drag on your computer, rather than something you physically move and listen to. Music CDs themselves have always been costly to produce as well. In the mid-1990s, the arguable peak of CD sales, Rod Stewart's A Spanner in the Works went for $16.98, more than 100 times the production cost that it took to create the album. Artist records these days can vary from $20 at record stores and above for whatever you may find. And throughout the history of the United States, music, along with various different forms of visual and performing arts, music has been at the forefront of change. Music has provided an outlet for the unheard and the point of connection in times of struggle. The visit to the record store to buy the new Grateful Dead album could influence counterculture in the San Francisco Bay Area, or buying the Duke Ellington album or that Billie Holiday single could influence the civil rights movement and spread the word of peace and the struggle. With music streaming sites, the majority of the music market, the physical medium of music that allowed artists to be heard and the people to express themselves is being slowly eradicated. It's much harder to have a meaning to music when it's only a click away. In conclusion, music streaming services have a significant negative impact on the music industry. Thank you.
All right, the structural stuff is pretty solid. I've got a good statement of what the proposition is. It's clear what the secondary claims are going to be. You lay them out at the beginning of the speech. Although I don't think you're as consistent in supporting those points when you get to the body of the speech. I think you sometimes go off track and talk about tangential issues instead of the issues that you set up. So I'm concerned, for instance, about the harm to the artist. You've got this explanation of the complicated formula that Spotify uses, and then the next thing I know, I'm hearing about Adele versus Bowie, and I'm going, okay, well, why is it that that's the outcome? I don't understand how the diversity of the music is affected by the formula of compensating the artist. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a relationship. I'm saying that you didn't explain it in the argument, and that needs to be clear. Maybe it means that only people who sell or who are listened to 100,000 times have any chance of making any money, and people who are only listened to 1,000 times have no chance of making any money. Maybe that's what the inference is, and the ones who are more diverse are the ones who are least likely to get the frequency of repeats that are necessary to generate income on Spotify. That needed to be clarified because, like I said, you kind of make this inferential leap to the problem with the diversity in the music based on the financing system there, and I didn't think that it was very clearly explained. The movement to the second point really is an argument about the value of record stores, and I think you're getting into some esoteric issues here that probably are value-based to some degree. There is one claim at one point that says that, you know, with the loss of physical media, it's harder to obtain certain kinds of information. And I'm going, well, what are you talking about? I thought that was the thing that the digital solved. You could find out anything about anything online, whereas if you go to the record store, you're at the mercy of whoever happens to be behind the counter at that particular moment. Why is that not the case? And I'm not sure that you explain the problem that's going on there. You do kind of explain how technological innovations have altered the way people listen to music and process music to some degree. But the argument about the impact that it could have on the culture needs to have some strength to it. I mean, you're mentioning civil rights and the counterculture and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going, well, is that because the Grateful Dead people are all hanging together, getting high at the record store, and that's how they created their culture? Or that people were all listening to, albums, and that's the civil rights movement? I'm not sure I get that connection here. And I think you have a reason to believe that it's true, but I don't think you've explained it very clearly and proven it. And that's a problem. So there were some issues like that. I think that you're passionate about the issue, and you mentioned, I think their economic argument could be developed a lot more. The other argument is, like I said, a little bit esoteric, and I think there are legitimate issues concerning, the health of the music industry that are going to be affected by this technology. Maybe that would be a better thing to develop in your argument. Have you seen All Things Must Pass? You know the movie I'm talking about? It's about the history of Tower Records. Yeah, no, enjoy it. Yes, I was going to say,